Hello, Internet. It is I, the Malik Aaron, and welcome back to Box Office Predictions. Today, we're going to be talking about bottoms. So, as usual, we're going to be going over the pros and cons. So, let's get to it. Pros. Well, this movie has very high reviews, has a 95% critic score, 95% audience score. How am I going to label those as a bad thing? So, yeah, strong reviews and audience score. I have to label that as a pro, obviously. So that's pro number one. Pro number two, there's really no direct competition out there. Really, this movie is very much out there by itself. I mean, there's nothing to really compare it to in the market. I mean, yeah, it looks, I guess, at very first glance, it's just like, oh, it's just another teen comedy. But the plot synopsis makes it, after reading it, I'm just like, okay, this is certainly different from your average teen movie, which, is nice to have something a little different. It's not just like treading old ground. But yeah, I mean, like, besides like Equalizer 3, which is the big movie coming out this weekend, like, what else do we have? Barbie, which is over a month old. You got Oppenheimer, same thing, and then everything else is just old or dead at this point. I mean, I guess there's Gran Turismo, but I don't think the Gran Turismo audience and the Bottoms audience, I don't think they're going to intersect very much. I don't expect those two audiences to eat into each other. I don't see that happening. So yeah, there's no real direct competition like at all, and I label that as a positive. So that's a pro. Another pro is shoot, I just I had it and I forgot it. Ugh. Oh yeah, it's limited release last weekend. So this movie opened last weekend, like 10 theaters, and it's opening wide this weekend. And last weekend had a opening weekend of 461,000, a per theater average of, let's see, 46K, which I say is pretty good. I mean, that's not the amazing, but it's very strong, especially compared to like other movies that come out this year. In fact, it's like the fifth best for the whole year in terms of like limited releases. Yeah, Theater Camp, which went nowhere. You got Past Lives, Bao is Afraid, whatever, and Asteroid City. So, I mean, that's good, I guess. But there's also a con to all of this, which I'll explain later. But yeah, that per theater average, usually you want to have a solid per theater average because it leads to more publicity and it leads to more people talking about it and it leads to momentum going towards like it's when it opens wide. So I say per theater average is all right. It's good. So that's a pro. And I think that's really it with pros. Okay, cons. Back to the per theater average. I mean, on like the surface, it looks good. Looks really good. But the problem is like very recently, not even very recently, for like the past year or actually ever since theaters reopened, like limited releases, they have not been the same at all. It's not like how it once was. Like it just feels like a hyper theater average really means nothing in the grand scheme of things, especially this year. I mean, Asteroid City is the best of the bunch, but even then, it didn't do great. It just did okay-ish. Like it had like a really strong limited release, then it went wide, had an okay run, but then it fell off real fast, and it's overall just done meh. Performance is meh, but it looks amazing compared to everything else. Like I was afraid that had an 80K per theater average, went nowhere after that, and only made like 7 million, which is pretty embarrassing. Then you got Past Lives, which had a per theater average of what was it, 58K, and then it only made like 10 million, which I mean, it never even got past 1,000 theaters, so I mean, it could have been worse. And then you have Theater Camp, which is just embarrassing. It had per theater average of 50K, never got past 600, and it just died out completely. Only making like 3 million. So as you can see, um, none of the other big per theater average movies this year, like none of them did well. And like last year, it's kind of the same deal. Like the whale 17 million, which I mean still did decent and earned Brendan Fraser his Oscar, but still not exactly a high number. Everything Everywhere All at Once, that's an exception. That did very well for itself, so no need to talk about that. But Banshees of Inisherin only made like 10 million, with per theater average like 46K. Fablemans 17 mil. I mean 43 million worldwide, but still 17 mil domestically, which is very very weak. Then you got Tar, only like less than 7 mil, 6 mil, despite having 39K per theater average. Bodies, 11 million. What else is there? Is it even here? I don't think it's here. It doesn't look like it's here. I guess there's Till. That had like 16 theaters, but still only made like 9 million. So, as you can see, things have not been good in like the limited release department. So, yeah. So, this somewhat decent per theater average, like opening weekend per theater average, at this point, it means nothing in the grand scheme of things. So, it's mainly just good for publicity purposes, but when it comes to actually predicting how a movie will do, it's worthless. So, yeah, I'm gonna label just how limited releases have been doing in recent memory as a con. Another con is like it's only open like 700 theaters, which doesn't exactly scream confidence in my eyes. And that's barely wide. So yeah, I always say it's better to have more theaters because theoretically, more theaters, more potential revenue you can get. So with only 700 theaters, you're only gonna get so much, unless it's some real special thing like the Hannah Montana Miley Cyrus concert where they opened like 600 theaters, open like $30 million. That's not gonna happen here. Not even close to reality. So yeah, low theater count. That's a con. I guess another con. I mean, this is gonna sound a little bad. And I'm aware it sounds a little bad, but I guess like this movie. Okay, how do I say this right? All right. So this movie. All right, the main two characters like they're lesbians. Okay, that's. I'm pretty sure that's not a spoiler. I haven't seen the trailer, but I imagine like, yeah, they're lesbians. So obviously this movie is very has LGBT characters at the forefront, which is good, for progress and whatnot. But in terms of like box office, uh, like it's not great. Well, it's okay. History. Well, it doesn't even show it here. Like, I guess recently history is that it doesn't sell the greatest. I guess it doesn't help that this isn't established. This isn't like attached to like a major IP or anything. This is just by itself. I mean, last year you had like Bros, which completely tanked, but that was mainly because that movie was involved with like a really dead genre in cinema, and then just like the director of that kind of like shot the whole movie in the foot with his comments, and it's just ugh. And then I don't know what else was there. I guess Knock at the Cabin earlier this year that had the main characters like were a gay couple who had a kid, and these four strangers like came in and they're like, okay, one of you got to die. So to prevent the apocalypse, that movie with M. Night Shyamalan, that movie it didn't do terrible, but it didn't do great either. It did very meh. So I don't know. I don't know. This movie, like the market, the overall market, I guess, for LGBT stuff, at least in cinemas, at least theatrically, that market is it's not the biggest in the world. It's not exactly a huge market. I mean, like TV, it's a lot bigger. Games, much bigger. But in actual movies, it's not that big. So I'm gonna label that as a con, not because it's bad, okay, but just because history has shown that that section, I guess that demographic, they're not the biggest. That's just the truth. So I'm gonna label that as a con. I guess another con is that I guess also the fact that teen movies, like teen like high school comedies, I mean they used to be like really big, like a decade ago or like 2 decades ago or like several decades ago, but recently it just kind of died. I mean, let's look at okay high school. Looking through these, I mean, ugh. Let's find them. I'm not seeing successes here. I'm not seeing like anything like notable or super notable. I guess there's blockers from like 5 years ago, and Love Simon, which was an LGBTQ movie, which did well for itself. I mean, it didn't do like spectacular, but for the little movie it did quite all right. But yeah, in recent memory, like high school movies, they have not been doing well at all. That genre pretty much died in theaters and has been shunted to streaming. So yeah, that's not great for bottoms for its chances. So yeah, just the fact that high school movies are just kind of like they're not that big anymore, like in theaters, like theatrically. So I'm gonna label that as a con. And I think that's really it. So opening weekend, um, shoot. I feel like 1 million is probably the best this movie's gonna get. I'm gonna say 1 to 2 million opening weekend, and its total. I have no clue. I'm going to say 5 million, less than 5 million. I don't see this unless something weird happens. I don't see this having a very long life, but I could be wrong. But this is what I think is gonna happen. Well, this is how things are looking right now. So, yeah, that's bottoms. So now we got one more movie to talk about, like the main movie coming out this weekend, that being Equalizer 3. So stay tuned for that video. But yeah, that's it. That's all. Make sure to subscribe, like this video, leave a comment, turn on notifications, share the whole drill. We'll check out more videos like this. I got playlists on the homepage, all previous prediction videos I made this year. You want to watch any of them, go right, or any of the ones I've done the past few years, you can go right ahead. There's also the canceled series where I go over all the movies that were supposed to come out but didn't. I'm 204 episodes. I made like two this week. 203 and 204. I know some other stuff has happened today, but I do not have the urge to make that episode. I'm just going to wait until something more interesting happens and then make the episode. But yeah, I made 204 episodes, so you want to watch any of those episodes from beginning to now, you want to binge them all from beginning to now, I highly encourage you to do that, so go do it. There's also box office recaps where I go over the box office results for any particular month. My August recap is going to come out next week, and I must mention my September recap. I guess after Dumb Money and Extras, before the Taylor Swift Eras Tour movie comes out. Okay, let's just say that it'll come out before then. It should at least, because it won't exactly be a super long video. Because September is kind of light with releases, only like 1 to 2. Well, except with the exception of the last weekend, which is like 3. But it was not a whole lot of quantity, which is nice for me. It's less exhausting, but yeah. So that September recap, that's not until October. Then my 3-part summer recap, that's not until late September. So stay tuned for all those videos. But if you want to watch any of the past recap videos on Man the Channel, you can go right ahead. And yeah, that's it. That's all. I am out. Goodbye.